function notation h of t is just telling you your height at any specific time can be given by negative 16t squared plus 112t. So the first question is at what height? So we're looking for h. And if they're asking you for h, they must have given you the time that you're supposed to plug in. Now, they didn't give it to you on a silver platter. You have to use a little common sense here. They want to know at what height was the object fired. So that's like after how many seconds? 0, right? The object is fired right at the beginning when t is 0. So you're literally just going to do h of 0 equals negative 16 0 squared plus 112 times 0, which is 0. The height at 0 seconds is 0 feet. H of 0 equals 0. That's what that means. The height at 0 seconds is 0 feet. It wants you to sketch a general curve, which you have your calculator for. You don't need to do this. I'll do it for you. But t is time. That's your x-axis, and that's in seconds. H is height. That's your y-axis, and that is in feet. And we already figured out that at 0 seconds, our height is 0 feet. Something's being shot upwards, and it comes back down. Yes? You guys should know from your parabola stuff in Algebra 1 that a negative leading coefficient means it opens down. Yes? That's no news. Now this said sketch. Obviously if I wanted a better picture, I could put it directly into my calculator and I could grab actual points. But for now, that's going to be good enough. Algebraically, find the time that the rocket reaches its greatest height, which is where on the parabola? The top. It's otherwise known as the vertex. Okay? So, how do you find a vertex? And it says algebraically, and this is the big takeaway from today. How do you find a vertex algebraically? Does anybody know? Negative b over 2a gives you the x-coordinate of your vertex. So x equals negative b over 2a. That gives you the x-coordinate only. So anytime you're asked to find a maximum or a minimum, I'm going to put all these buzzwords here. You need to calculate negative b over 2a. That'll give you the x-coordinate of your vertex. So in this case, it'll give us the time at which this is going to occur. So what is our b? 112. So negative 112 over 2a would be negative 32. That's going to be an x-coordinate of negative 112 divided by negative 32, 3.5. So that's 3.5 seconds in. Comma. How do I find the corresponding height there? How do I find the height at 3.5 seconds? Chris? Plug it in. I've got my time, so just plug it in. Negative 16 times 3.5 squared plus 112 times 3.5 is going to give me a height of 196. So this is seconds. This is feet. So that answer is really part C. Find the time, 3.5 seconds, and find the maximum height, 196 feet. So if you want to, you can label your x-axis 3.5 right there, and this 196 if you want it to be scaled right. And then the next question is algebraically determine, this is part D, the time. So they're looking for t when the rocket reaches the ground. Jason, what do you know about the height when the rocket reaches the ground? Right, so again, they're not going to tell us what to plug in on a silver platter, but we have common sense and we know that we're looking for time, so somehow they must be alluding to the height we should plug in, which reaches the ground, insinuates 0. So if the height is 0, I'm just solving this for t. I don't need the quadratic formula here. Why? Take out a GCF of negative 16t, I'm going to guess. And you get t minus 7. And we are solving, so we're going to tee it up, and we get t equals 0, which we already knew that one, by the way, from part A. And also t equals 7. So how else should we have known that this was going to be at 7 seconds when it hits the ground again? Why does that make sense? Georgia? Right, because parabolas are symmetrical around their vertex. So if it was hitting 0 3.5 seconds to the left of that, then it was also going to hit 0 3.5 seconds further to the right. Yes? Okay. And then in E, I added this, a bird is flying at 200 feet above the ground. At what time should we be concerned that the object might hit the bird? We actually already can answer that, right? If the max height is 196, we don't have to worry about the bird, right? What I probably should have done is made this like 150. If the bird was at 150, at what time? So again, we're looking for at what times we should be concerned, which means they gave us something to plug in for the other variable, h, and test what should we plug in for h. Read. We're looking for time. They gave us a height must be to plug in. 150, that's the only height they gave us. Very good. So you just would plug that in for the height. We're essentially going to look for when this is going to hit 150. This we need a quadratic formula for. Corey, do you have a question? Okay. The look on your face made me nervous. So we would subtract the 150 over and do the quadratic formula. Any questions on that? And you'd find, by the way, it's going to happen on 2 occasions, right? One says it's going up, it's going to pass 150. If I'm guesstimating, it's right around there. It's going to pass it on the way up, somewhere between 0 and 3.5 seconds. And it's also going to pass it on the way down, somewhere between 3.5 and 7 seconds. So you should expect your answers to be one between 0 and 3.5 and the other one to be over here. And honestly, they're going to be symmetrical on either side of the 3.5. Good? Go to the back. This is giving us an equation for the percentage of popcorn that's being popped as a function of the temperature it's being cooked at. So you cook it at too low of a temperature, we're not going to pop enough of the kernels. You pop it at too high of a temperature, and they're going to be burned, right? Crazy. So there's some sweet spot somewhere in between that is the proper temperature. The biggest thing I want to talk about on this one is part A. And you need to be able to read into this, because this says algebraically determine the temperature, so we're looking for T, at which the highest percentage of kernels pop. So they're not asking us for the temperature and telling us the percentage. They're asking us for the highest. Sometimes you'll be asked for the lowest. Sometimes you're asked for the maximum. Sometimes you're asked for the minimum. Anytime you read those buzzwords, it means vertex. Find the vertex. So negative b over 2a is going to give us negative 2.8 over 2 times negative 1 over 250. That's a calculator. So negative 2.8 divided by negative 2 over 250, really. I'll just tell you, that gives us 350. Which coordinate is our x coordinate, by the way, the p or the t? Normally it's y equals some things in terms of x. So which one of these is in place of our x? Temperature. So that's 350 degrees. That's the place where we'd get the most kernels popped. And then you just plug back in that 350. And do it out on your calculator to see what percentage would get popped there. Go ahead and type that in. Someone, first person to get it, tell me what percentage it gave you. Hopefully 90-something percent. The big takeaway on this, guys, for your homework is anytime you see max, min, 96%, good. Anytime you see maximum, minimum, you're finding the vertex using negative b over 2a. If I didn't count right and someone's short, which very well could have happened, Vince or Jack, you might be short. Just let me know.